This is the Belgian Grand Prix. We are in the middle of a huge downpour at Spa-Francorchamps. Our apologies once again if your pictures back in Britain are being affected. Atmospheric conditions around the Ardennes, very poor indeed. It's going to make for a very dramatic race. It could well help Damon Hill, the world champion. We'll bring you all the news as it happens from the pits with James Allen and Louise Goodman. Settle back and enjoy the Belgian Grand Prix now in the company of Martin Brundle and Murray Walker.
Are we surprised? No, we are not at all surprised. This is par for the course at the fabulous Spa-Francorchamps circuit. Time after time we've been here when the skies have been blue, the sun has been blazing, and literally minutes later the skies are black and there's a downpour, as you have seen today. So now the track is soaking wet. It seems hardly believable when you see some of the parts of the circuit that they're actually going to start the race, but the storm drains here are very good. The water is being removed in vast quantities. There's a problem area in some parts of the course. It's a bit like Hockenheim, which is going through heavy pine forests, Hockenheim that is. There's heavy woods here, and they tend to hold the moisture, and some parts of the track obviously therefore will dry out very much quicker than others. This could conceivably be an advantage for Damon Hill, who is starting 9th on the grid behind Villeneuve in pole position, Jean Alesi who's 2nd, and Schumacher is 3rd. The track temperature has dropped an incredible 18 degrees in the last 10 minutes. It was swelteringly hot. We were aching for some relief, and we got it in the form of that storm, which has really cooled things down. So why could it help Damon? Well, he's on the Bridgestone tyres, about which we've heard so much this year. He was planning to start this race. In fact, he was going to have to start this race on soft compound tyres, which would have been very bad news indeed in the heat that we had this morning. Damon was 5th fastest this morning, but that's an indication in some ways of the fact that he was on soft compound tyres. But if the course is running cooler, and particularly if it's running wet, he might well have an advantage.
Well, that's just possible, but it's also true, I think, that the Bridgestones are not clearing the very heavy water. They're aquaplaning slightly more than the latest Goodyears. The Bridgestones are faster when it's just plain wet. So I think there'll be a period of change through the race where the tyres come and go for individual drivers. And of course, they've got up to 6 different wet tyres to choose from, three compounds and 2 compounds and 3 different tread patterns. But last year in Brazil, I remember we started in a wet race, and I said to them, why can't we have a safety car in the beginning, because it's so wet and it's so dangerous those first few laps with aquaplaning. We want the race to start on time for the worldwide TV, and they've changed the regulations, and this race will start under a safety car. They will follow the Mercedes-Benz round, and until they get underway they'll be in line. I don't know how long for. That'll be the call of the clerk of the course or the race director as to when they get underway. I think that will be quite quickly into the race, but from an aquaplaning point of view, from a safety point of view, they have to do something like that because there's just too much water on the racetrack. The Formula One, they're very wide tyres. They simply cannot clear the water fast enough at the speeds they travel. So that'll be good news. The drivers will be pleased with that. You just saw the back of Ralf Schumacher's car. He will have to start from the pit lane, so he will have to wait until all of the cars have gone past. The fact that it's a safety car start is probably bad news for him because they won't be tripping over each other. He will now have to pass all of them once the race gets underway. So safety car start. Oliver Gavin, the young British driver, is the driver of that safety car, a regular attender now at the Grand Prix, and he's got an important job on his hands at the beginning of this race, Murray.
He certainly has. I can't think of a more responsible one, certainly not right here anyway. So Oliver Gavin is going to lead the cars round. The first time we've had a race start behind the safety car, and as you can see in this incredibly perverse place from the point of view of weather, the sun is now not only out, but in the time that I have been talking to you, the track temperature has gone up 1 degree. You can literally see the water disappearing off the surface of the track and the cars.
Well, Schumacher there on very lightly treaded tyres. I don't think it was the full wet. I think it was one of the deeper intermediate tyres Michael Schumacher had on the car, which surprised me a little. We do know he's changed the wings on that car. He's put more downforce on. to keep the car in contact with the road. They're all saying it's going to dry up, it's going to dry up, but you've still got to be on the road when it dries up and not aquaplaned off into the hedge somewhere. So a lot of critical decisions have been made on that grid, and we'll see who's got it right.
You saw a flicker of light from the helmet of Villeneuve. He was removing one of the strips to aid vision. Now, already the track is starting to dry out, and I'm reminded of the Spanish Grand Prix last year, which was an absolute tour de force by Michael Schumacher in the Ferrari. He dominated the race, demonstrated why he's the double world champion that he is. So there's Johnny Herbert. There behind him is Morbidelli. There is Nakano. Incidentally, there are 3 top drivers starting well down on the grid. Jarno Trulli, who's made such a good name for himself, only qualified in 11th position. Johnny Herbert only qualified 12th, but was very quick in the warm-up this morning. But even lower are Gerhard Berger, who had a terrible qualifying session for Benetton. He's down at 15th position, and there he is as I talk to you. And behind him, Eddie Irvine. You just saw the Ferrari coming up. Irvine was not only 17th on the grid, very low down for him and Ferrari, but he was 21st in the warm-up this morning. And both the McLarens went off in the warm-up this morning when it was dry. The conditions weren't like this. David Coulthard went off. Mika Hakkinen went off again and quite badly damaged the car. They've been able to rebuild it, but it's being rebuilt as the spare car and not as his race car. So this, of course, is the formation lap. And we're riding with Villeneuve, who is in pole position.
Difficult call then for Charlie Whiting and Herbie Blash in race control. They've got to make the decision from their TV pictures and information they're getting from the race car. I think they should be in contact with 1 or 2 of the drivers too. I've always thought that, although it's a little bit difficult to really make that happen in reality, and some drivers are going to have a different view of when it's ready to go, almost depending on which car they're in as well. But nonetheless, somebody's got to call when they believe this racetrack is fast enough to move at racing speeds, and it's not going to be far away, but you can see an enormous amount of water still coming up behind the cars, even despite the low speeds they're doing. Look, there's a beginning of a slightly sort of 2 tracks there through Stavelot, and then again into a wetter part of the track. It's going to take a while. It's such a high-speed circuit. Visibility is absolutely appalling around here. Often there's a little red light on the back of each car, wet weather light. You can't see that until you're about to run into it. You're listening to the car in front, and your peripheral vision, you're looking for some kind of landmark out of the corner of your eye to let you know where you are on the circuit, almost as if you're in a fog. Sometimes you know how you are going down this down a motorway when you pass a truck. Momentarily your windscreen gets full of water, you just can't see. Well, in a Formula 1 car, your windscreen is your crash helmet visor. Sometimes you can't even see your own dashboard. That's what they've got to put up with out there, and that's why they've made the sensible decision of starting this race with a safety car.
So Oliver Gavin crosses the line, and the race is on, and you can see the situation now. They've got to tiptoe their way round, and it's going to be the decision of Charlie Whiting, the race director, about when the race gets underway without the safety car being in front. Now, of course, there's no reason why they shouldn't really go for it, but they're not allowed to pass behind the safety car. They've got to hold station all the way, and it's a good thing that they've got a capable chap like Gavin driving the safety car, because these Formula 1 cars do not like going slow.
Well, Oliver Gavin is absolutely flat out in that Mercedes-Benz, believe it or not. It just looks slow from the camera angles and the apparent speed, or the relative speed of the Formula 1 cars. He's pushing as hard as he can, and it'll be amazingly easy for him to aquaplane off as well. So he's got a job on his hands, but the Formula 1 cars behind are going to feel like they're just crawling round, but nothing more he can do.
We didn't mention that Jarno Trulli was starting in the Prost car from the pit lane, and we're now on the second lap. Trulli, in fact, is not out yet, so he's lost a lap. In fact, his race has gone. He was going to start from 11th on the grid. He had that problem, came into the pit lane, had to start eventually, he hopes, from the pit lane, but he's still there.
And watch this, the Ferrari team getting ready in the pit lane. One of their drivers has called in and said, I want a different set of tyres. I wonder who that could be. Maybe we can get our crew down there to find out. James will be finding out for us, no doubt. but somebody in the Ferrari camp has called in saying we're on the wrong tyres.
We had an incredible situation here in Belgium last year when the safety car came out. It transformed the race because Michael Schumacher, who is currently third in this race behind the safety car, came into the pit straight away and changed tyres. Jacques Villeneuve failed to hear the call for him to come in, went out and did another lap, as a result of which Damon Hill had a problem in the Williams last year, don't forget, and he had to thread his way between the markers and rejoin the race, drop right down, and eventually fought his way through in the Williams to finish. But now we're on lap 2 and we're coming up to the bus stop. The first lap was done in 3 minutes 35.5 compared with the lap record here, and Ferrari coming in, and it's Mike.
Now I think the message from the pits is Ferrari have put their wheels away, so maybe they've changed their mind on whatever change had been proposed by which driver we don't know at this point. But here they are, they're coming through Blanchimont now and then up towards the bus stop. Seems a little strange to see them racing like this, but I don't know the alternative other than us all sitting around for half an hour waiting for the rain to clear away.
Well, it will clear away, there's no doubt about it. The sun is out and really burning hot now. In fact, I've just got to check on the track temperature, which was 19 degrees, and it's back up to 28 degrees. So since we started talking to you, it's gone up 9 degrees.
Well, it was Eddie Irvine's crew, we're told, from our ITV pit crew, that was envisioning to come into pits and change his tyres. He's obviously been talked out of it or something. Just talking to the Goodyear people not half an hour ago, and they said this is the hottest Spa for 15 years, the hottest track temperatures we've got on our records in 15 years. But the whole paddock talk was about how hot it is for Spa, and here we are, Murray, in the pouring rain.
But of course, that track is acting as a heat sink, and now that it's stopped raining, we can expect the moisture, in fact the wetness on the track, to disappear pretty quickly. If you look down at the Mercedes that Gavin is driving, and there's far less spray coming. There's still a heck of a lot. There's Lacey, there is Schumacher, there is Fisichella and Hakkinen and Frentzen, and behind Frentzen is Pedro Diniz, who is ahead of his teammate Damon Hill, not because he's passed him behind the safety car, which is not allowed, but because he started in front of Hill.
There's Villeneuve trying to stay out of the spray of the Mercedes-Benz, trying to keep his visor and his little water in his crash helmet as he can. Rather surprised to see the two people in the safety car not wearing crash helmets.
Well, we're on lap 3 now. It's a 44-lap race.
So when the lights go out on that safety car, it's on that lap that the car comes in and the race will begin. The charge will begin, and we understand the safety car will return to the pits at the end of lap 3. So the safety car is going in at the end of this lap, and then it's pedal to the metal. But they've got to watch out for those big puddles. At least now they've been able to have a look and see where most of the standing water is, because being such an undulating circuit, Murray, you get a lot of rivers running around there. It's incredibly dangerous.
Yeah, I totally approve of this whole situation, starting the race behind the safety car, because it means, as you rightly say, that the drivers are thoroughly familiar with the track conditions. They know where the water is, they know where there is not so much water, they will know where they've got to be careful. So they're coming through now, and we'll wait to see those lights go off on the safety car. They'll be driving in a tremendous haze of water. All the people behind Villeneuve, who's been driving a very crafty series of laps behind the Mercedes. There is Mika Hakkinen, who went off this morning, had that very nasty accident yesterday when part of the rear suspension went on the Mercedes-Benz at nigh on 200 miles an hour as he was approaching Les Combes, the highest part of the circuit. Michael Schumacher weaving about in the Ferrari, and we are with Mika Hakkinen now, and the yellow car in front of us is that of Giancarlo Fisichella. The timing system is still working here, incidentally. The fastest man on the track at the moment is Ukyo Katayama, who in closing a gap has just gone round in 3 minutes 13 seconds.
So the lights are out on the pace car. He will go down the pit lane, which is as the bus stop starts. It's quite a long way before the start-finish line, which is what makes the pit stops here very quick. We'll talk about that later on. There goes the pace car out of the way, and now they can start the race. Nobody can overtake until they cross the start and finish line. No overtaking until then.
So Villeneuve will come out on the bus stop, and here he is. Villeneuve leads racing speed. Fisichella goes round. Now, are we going to look back and see whether there is any contact? There often is at this corner when the race is starting from a standing start, but thankfully it looks as though they have all got round clear, and Villeneuve has got that inestimable advantage of a clear track. Everybody behind him, Lacey, Schumacher, Fisichella and Häkkinen, have got those great roosters of spray being thrown up at them. They've got to drive through them. To some extent, they've got to feel their way around the circuit. And Lacey is having a look at Les Combes. Michael Schumacher, who spent the whole of this morning working on the setup of his Ferrari. He was only 15th fastest this morning, and a lot of people thought he got a major problem. He hadn't. He was getting his car set up, and he's going through.
Yes, so Schumacher got a great run out of Les Combes there, but couldn't make it stick on the way in to the hairpins, but terrific drive off that last corner. And here it is again. He's going to be giving Lacey more than a few problems for the rest of this lap.
Yeah, look at Fisichella behind him. Lacey and Schumacher and Fisichella battling for second position, but Lacey's holding them up, and Villeneuve is taking advantage of the situation to pull away in the Williams Renault. But Michael Schumacher is the man to watch, the undisputed rainmaster of Formula One. We're on lap 4 now, already at 1/11th distance in the Belgian Grand Prix. Lacey, Schumacher all over his gearbox. Fisichella is behind him. Then it's Mr. Häkkinen and Frentzen.
A big problem in these kind of conditions is fog inside your visor, and you've already seen Michael Schumacher, if you look closely, he's got a lot of mist on the inside of his visor. Not much he can do about that. But remember, the TV camera can see much better than the human eye, and that's what all the TV camera could see then. It's impossible to know where you're going.
Schumacher, again, he's diving left, diving right, but Jean Lacey is refusing to move. He's got the racing line. He's under no obligation to move, and Schumacher's got to force his way through. They're up to the bus stop now. This is the conclusion of lap 4, the 1/11th distance. Lacey second, Schumacher out of the bus stop together. Those enormous puddles seem to have cleared up to La Source.
Well, Schumacher's going to have to go up the inside because Lacey will go wide to take his normal, but they're going to touch. He's going to turn in on you, Michael. No, he just saw him at the last moment. Well done, Jean. Good move from Michael. A bit risky when you've got a world championship at stake.
Now, the gap was 1.5 seconds. What gap? The gap between Villeneuve and Jean Lacey. Now, here's a replay as Michael Schumacher courageously, daringly takes that second place away from Jean Lacey, who just at the last moment sees the Ferrari on the right, jinks to the left. Schumacher goes through, and he's right up with Villeneuve and going for the lead at Les Combes. Incredible start to the Belgian Grand Prix, and Michael Schumacher is the man. I hate to keep repeating this, but he is superlative.
You saw him there hard on the throttle. He's going up the inside of Villeneuve now. Beautiful move. Remember, Schumacher had those lesser treaded tyres. He should, if the track begins to dry, should have more grip. And boy, is he using them well. So an easy move there, really, on Villeneuve. That will have taken him completely by surprise.
This reminds me of Donington 1993. Here's a replay of Michael Schumacher at the right-hander diving inside Jacques Villeneuve. Here's a replay from Schumacher's point of view. And I was saying, he's clearing off now. I was saying that this reminds me of Donington 1993. The conditions were like this. Ayrton Senna started 5th on the grid, and that's going off the track is Ralf Schumacher. He went off on the formation lap. He's gone off again. He started from the rear of the field, trying to close up, and now you see Fisichella swarming all over the gearbox of Jean Lacey, who's in 3rd position. Second position, my apologies. Replay of Ralf Schumacher going off.
Well, Ralf did well to get out of there. There's usually a strip of grass around the outside that the security vehicles can use, and most drivers head straight for that, because if you get bogged down in that gravel trap, we all know too well, it's the end of your day.
Well, look at it now as Michael Schumacher comes through to complete his 5th lap. The gap previously was 1.5 seconds. Schumacher has gone through. Villeneuve is actually much slow, some 7 seconds slower on that lap. But the gap now with Schumacher.
And there goes Hill past Inez. No, he didn't make it stick. He had to lift off. He didn't really commit himself to that move. It was his teammate after all, but Damon needs to be getting on with it. He's got David Coulthard breathing down his neck also, and he needs to be going. Hakkinen doing well in 5th. Remember, as of last night, he was on the back of the grid with alleged fuel infringements, but that's since been sorted out.
Well, Deniz is in 7th place and Damon Hill is in 8th position. Here's Fisichella and Lacey battling for that 3rd place.
Yes, well, Lacey there on the wetter side of the track, having to lift the water up, but he's obviously carrying more downforce than Fisichella. Fisichella had a lot more straight line speed there and on the drier side of the track and was able to just drive straight past him. And Lacey had a go at coming back up the inside, but really wasn't close enough.
Right, well, we're on lap 6. Michael Schumacher is 6 seconds now ahead of Villeneuve already. You can see the battle for 2nd position because there is Villeneuve. Behind him is Fisichella, who's forced his way past Shauna Lacey, who's down to 4th position. In 5th place, it's Mika Hakkinen in the McLaren. 6th is Frentzen, who started 7th. Pedro Deniz is 7th, ahead of Damon Hill. 9th is David Coulthard. 10th is Johnny Herbert in the Sauber. And Villeneuve is not coping as well with this, obviously, as Michael Schumacher is. But look how Fisichella is pushing him.
Absolutely. That Williams, for whatever reason, does not work well in the wet. I can't see a logical reason for it. It's good in the dry. They don't run it with particularly stiff suspension. I just don't understand. But every time it's been wet in practices, that car's been off the pace, and Fisichella is all over him.
Now they're coming up to Blanchimont. This is the fastest corner on the course, and off goes the Prost of Shinji Nakano, the Japanese driver. That's the first retirement from the race, although Jarno Trulli is still well down.
Well, he could have had a go at the inside, but it's a... Oh, and he's locked his wheels. Villeneuve has locked his wheels. He's got to go through the pit lane at 80 kilometres per hour. That's cost him an enormous amount of time.
Yes, he's been passed by Fisichella, who's now up into 3rd position.
2nd place for Fisichella. Villeneuve going down the pit lane. He's going to stop for tyres while he's at it. Sorry, maybe he didn't lock his wheels. Maybe he intended to come in, but very early.
Brave move.
Okay, he's gone for intermediates like Schumacher. Schumacher was a full 10 seconds a lap faster on that last lap than any other car in the field. Villeneuve has stopped for the intermediates that Schumacher's running with.
So that was on lap 7. Long way still to go, 37 laps.
Here's Nakano going off at the hairpin. He then heads for that road around the outside, but doesn't give it full commitment and ended up beached. He won't be out of there.
So Fisichella up to 2nd place, Lacey 3rd. Look at the traffic jam behind Frentzen, and there is Pedro Deniz, and he is in 6th position, ahead of Damon Hill, as is David Coulthard. So, look at this.
Well, these are the kind of conditions where the Bridgestone tyres have been very, very good. You can see Damon Hill, Pedro Deniz, they're having a good look up the inside of David Coulthard. Frentzen there holding the lot of them up. Hill on the inside, no, you're not going to get through there, Damon. So a big traffic jam there behind Frentzen, and Hakkinen getting away now in front of them.
And it's getting drier all the time as the temperature goes up, and as we look at Giancarlo Fisichella, who is now some 17 seconds behind Michael Schumacher, but a good way ahead of Lacey. He's pulling away from Lacey in 3rd position. Hakkinen, here's the traffic jam. Frentzen followed by Coulthard. Deniz is down to 7th position. Damon Hill fighting for his place, and Johnny Herbert fighting his way up too.
Johnny Herbert having a go there at the rear wheel of Damon Hill. Couldn't make it work. Now you can see the 2 lines forming around the racetrack where the racing tyres have lifted the water into the air, and it gives you 2 tracks, and if you put your car in those 2 tracks you have a lot more grip, but your tyres start to overheat. Schumacher on the intermediates, he's got a bit of leeway before they'll be giving up on him. There goes the Benetton. Lacey's coming in the pits. If he goes for slicks, it'll be brave, but there's some talk from our pit crew that's what he's doing. And but Lacey deciding those full wets are not for him either.
Johnny Herbert in the red helmet up behind Damon Hill, who is in 8th position. And look how close they are to each other as Jean Lacey comes in from what was 4th position. He's decided that he can cope with slick tyres. That amazes me. Look at them, slick tyres going on Lacey's Benetton. This could be a brilliant move, but it might be just the wrong one too.
Well, this is hero or zero time, but Gerhard Berger in that sister car went out on Friday on slicks, and he was a full 6 or 7 laps before he could touch the throttle pedal. That's very, very early for a Lacey, but if anybody can do it, he can do it. I remember in the French Grand Prix of '94, I think it was, he ran incredibly long time on slick tyres in a wet track. He's good at it.
And Frentzen is charging now. You've got the race separating out into Michael Schumacher, then Fisichella, then Häkkinen, and then this pack.
Yes, I thought I saw Coulthard actually scream past Frentzen then, Murray. And here comes Diniz to do the same thing. Johnny Herbert's already past Hill. Frentzen, his tyres have gone away. It was Coulthard going past Frentzen up into 5th place.
Yeah, Frentzen didn't cover himself with glory yesterday because he crashed in the qualifying session, started down. But now Frentzen is slipping back through the field, and it's Schumacher, Fisichella, Häkkinen, Alesi, and Coulthard and Diniz is the order. Pedro Diniz driving a fabulous race.
And that's Hill putting a good move there on Frentzen, so Hill through as well. Frentzen almost parking himself on the outside of the racetrack, saying, after you chaps, I've got no grip, but they all seemed a bit submissive to me.
Amazing the way he's just moved over and let the ball go through. But now, look, you see, they're all streaming through as they get the line wrong, and the positions are changing all the way around the track. We are now on lap 9 out of 44. Long way to go.
An Jean Alesi.
Er bleibt außen und kann sich da durchsetzen gegen ihn ohne große Probleme. Auch er ist ja da auf Intermediate-Reifen.
Und noch eine Szene möchten wir nicht vorenthalten. Überholmanöver von Diniz und Johnny Herbert gegen Heinz-Harald Frentzen. Auch der auf Regenreifen. Also es scheint fast so, Jochen, als habe man sich bei Williams wieder mal ein bisschen im Wetterpoker vertan. Und deshalb auch jetzt Heinz-Harald Frentzen schon in der Box. Auch bei ihm wird jetzt Reifen gewechselt.
Ein bisschen. Und Slicks, er fährt auf Slicks, ist der zweite, der auf Slicks geht. Alesi war vorhin drin, hat bereits Slicks aufgezogen.
Und auch bei Ferrari sehen wir hinten, da ist Eddie Irvine drin. Und auch für Michael Schumacher soll ein Reifenstopp vorbereitet werden. Auch die Jordan Crew steht da, parat. Und der Vorsprung von Michael Schumacher nach Ende der 8. Runde betrug 28 Sekunden auf Giancarlo Fisichella. Also zweimal Intermediates vorn. Danach dann Häkkinen, Coulthard, Diniz, Herbert, Hill, Magnussen. Das ist also die Reihenfolge. Ende der 8. Wir sind jetzt in der 9. Runde.
Einzelne trockene Spuren sehen wir schon, aber es ist noch kein Risiko, auf den Intermediates noch draußen zu bleiben. Also es geht mit Sicherheit noch etwas schneller auf den nur leicht profilierten Reifen. Ja, warum er bei Williams ausgerechnet die Schwerwetterreifen aufgezogen hatte, ist mir nicht so ganz klar.
Da steht der erste Stewart draußen.
Barrichello.
Und Ralf Schumacher ist auf Platz 20. Vor ihm Eddie Irvine und Mika Salo.
Jetzt wird doch deutlich, so an manchen Stellen die Spur sehr trocken. Aber die Intermediates, wie gesagt, ganz flach profiliert, haben eigentlich ein relativ gutes Profil und man kann einigermaßen schnell damit auch im Trocknen fahren. Sodass, wir wollen mal die Zeit im Auge behalten. Schumacher 206, die schnellste Runde.
You're watching the amazing Michael Schumacher, lap 10 of the Belgian Grand Prix. He's leading by 34 seconds. He could come in, as many other people have, stop, change tyres. That's Nakano, who has retired. Rubens Barrichello has retired as well. But that's 34 seconds behind Michael Schumacher, and you can see a dry line emerging on the track now. Fisichella is second, 2 seconds ahead of Häkkinen. Coulthard in the other McLaren is in 4th position. Pedro Diniz, a magnificent 5th, as out of the pits goes Gerhard Berger. And in 6th place, Johnny Herbert ahead of Damon Hill.
So to recap then, we've got Alesi, Berger, Frentzen and Irvine all having chosen to go on to slicks. The Jordans haven't come in yet, and the Bridgestone runners appear to be doing okay. They don't want to stop just yet, and neither of the McLarens have come in. They're living with the tyres that they've got. All of this leaves Michael Schumacher on his intermediates a full 35 seconds ahead of the rest of the field after just 9 laps. Whatever he's got for a setup, it's working well.
Yeah, once again, he's done what he did in Spain last year. He and the Ferrari people, as we ride with Mika Häkkinen in 3rd position, chasing Giancarlo Fisichella's Jordan ahead, the gap being about 2.5 seconds. But once again, Schumacher and Ferrari have called it exactly right. They've got the right tyres on, intermediates, they've got the right amount of downforce on, and they've got the best driver in the world controlling them.
But at the moment, Alesi is not as fast as those guys that stayed out on the wet tyres. But very, very quickly, as soon as he can pick up some temperature in those slicks, there you see him now. Villeneuve on the intermediates behind him. But as soon as those tyres pick up enough temperature, Alesi will find 10 or 15 seconds per lap. And then he's going to be sitting pretty, providing he keeps it on the island up till that time. But now I think about it, when I tested the Benetton, part of it was in the rain, Murray, and they said to me at the time, unless there's an incredible amount of standing water, the drivers are finding just as much grip on the inters as the full wets. Well, and clearly Michael Schumacher knew that well. Yeah, I think Alesi's going to be laughing as Fisichella from 3rd position, he's been passed by Mika Häkkinen now, comes in, and to bring you into the picture, Jean Alesi and Villeneuve, who are battling for 13th position on respectively slick and intermediate tyres, were 66 seconds behind Michael Schumacher. Now they've got to gain an awful lot to catch him. Well, you had Fisichella there coming out of the pits. His team let him go as Hill was coming in. Obviously a bit over-anxious there. I wouldn't want to lay blame because I don't know enough of the facts, but we nearly had 2 cars colliding in the... and there's Hill leaving the pits now on his slicks, and he'll find those Bridgestones a bit of a handful. It's very, very tricky out there, and I know that they work better on the fully dry track. But meanwhile, Diniz carries on with his wet, and Johnny Herbert's still trying to chase him down. And there's Coulthard. What's happening to Coulthard? He's really, really struggling. I don't know if David Coulthard, who hasn't been in, his tyres have gone completely, but Johnny Herbert's gone past him. Pedro Diniz has gone past him. Pedro Diniz is up into 4th position now. Now, look, there's Johnny Herbert. This is at Les Combes. This is a replay. You see Coulthard slow right down on the right-hander, and Johnny Herbert moves through in the Sauber. Yes, David outbraked himself into the corner, and it's time to come in the pits, David. It's time to come in the pits. You need a new set of boots. We think Damon Hill could have gone out on intermediates, which would be a strange decision, I think, because there's a very small window where, having gone this far into the race, where those intermediates would be the tyres to be on. Well, in this incredible race, one of the most amazing things to me is that Pedro Diniz, who started in the Arrows 1 place ahead of Damon Hill on the grid, has stayed ahead of the world champion. Diniz is in 5th position, Damon Hill is in 7th position. We're on lap 12 out of 44. There is Damon Hill, and he's got Johnny Herbert behind him. So, Damon has got ahead. I apologise, it's Pedro Diniz. Pedro Diniz and Herbert battling for 5th place. And Herbert goes down the pit lane, and why it's a very quick pit stop, but you don't have to do this section, the bus stop. You go straight towards the pit lane. Look, Herbert's there before him, despite having to go 80 k's, and then it's a very quick exit too. So, a good, easy pit stop here, well worth doing. Schumacher 47 seconds ahead, and still 4 or 5 seconds a lap faster than those guys on slicks. They've gone very early for slicks. Here's David. He can only go for slicks. James, what is he putting on?
He is indeed putting slicks on. Meanwhile, the tyre covers I can see behind me have just come off for Jacques Villeneuve. He's going to have to make another stop. I'm pretty sure he's going to put slicks on. He came over the radio the last time round and said, guys, wet tyres are a big mistake today.
So, Johnny Herbert has changed tyres and is in 4th position. David Coulthard has changed tyres. In comes Villeneuve. Villeneuve, who has already been in for intermediates, is now having slicks. And remember, Alesi came in at the same time, and he did change to slicks, stayed ahead of Villeneuve. Villeneuve's obviously decided that slicks are the better wear. They've got the choice of wets, slicks. Look at Häkkinen's rear tyres. You can see the rubber. It's up in the air. There's Häkkinen having a bit of a moment across the grass at Les Combes. No big drama there. It's cost him time, but his rear tyres are absolutely rooted. He's got to come in this time. That's because they get very, very hot, of course, if they're not clearing water. They very rapidly disintegrate, fragment, and go flat. And now Michael Schumacher on lap 13 has got this race in his pocket if he just keeps going. He's 47 seconds ahead of, 47 seconds ahead of the man we're riding with now, Mika Häkkinen, who's lost an enormous amount of time and was only... Now, do you know who is in third place now? Pedro Diniz in the Arrows Yamaha, the car that we were talking about so much 2 weeks ago in Hungary with the different driver, Damon Hill. Pedro Diniz in third position, and Mika Häkkinen is coming in for slick tyres.
Well, you can see the tyres there on that slow motion replay of Schumacher's car. They look fine. They've got a lot more rubber to go down on the track, a lot shallower tread, and he's making them work. He's still the fastest guy in the track by just over 2 seconds now on a Lacey slick. Now Ferrari will be looking at that, and they'll see a Lacey now homing in on his lap time and say, okay Michael, it's time to come in for some tyres.
And here is Mika Häkkinen. Wets off, slicks on, and he's followed by Pedro Diniz. That's Pedro Diniz in the Arrows as Häkkinen gets out. So Häkkinen has regained his place, but it's such an incredible leaderboard, I must tell you. Schumacher was leading, Häkkinen second, Diniz third. They've both come in. So Jan Magnussen, unless he's come in and I haven't seen him, was up into second place in the Stewart. And that was where Rubens Barrichello finished at Monaco, as we ride with Schumacher now on the fastest part of the course.
Yes, well, we've lost him, unfortunately. He'll have to wait until after Blanchimont before taking that, what I believe was a Minardi, and he'll have no problem passing that car. So this is Magnussen.
Yeah, this is Jan Magnussen, and ahead of him is the Benetton, and that'll be Jean Alesi, and we need them to come through the complete lap in order to establish who is just where, because the computer that gives us information is literally not able to keep up with the way the pit stops are going. People coming in, stopping, others going through, then they're stopping, but all the time not stopping, thanks to that brilliant choice of tyre, Michael Schumacher. 65 seconds is his lead.
Well, Michael will want to stretch another lap if he can, and to get on a two-stop fuel strategy. Lap 15 would have been the normal point to stop. I think they'll be bringing him very quickly. We've now got Mika Salo in a Tyrrell on slicks, the fastest car on the racetrack. That's sending all the signals to Ferrari. Get Michael Schumacher in the pits, even though he's got a very, very long lead. I think he'll be in very shortly.
Yeah, he could come in, decarbonise the engine, change his overalls, have a drink, and still get out in the lead, the way things are going at the present moment. We're going to know the answer very shortly, because here is superstar, double world champion, Michael Schumacher for Benetton, and if he finishes this race in first position, that'll be another 10 World Championship points for him. He's already 3 points ahead of Jacques Villeneuve, his closest, in fact, his only real competitor in the World Championship. And you can see the car is handling beautifully. You can see the way the track is drying out. He's coming up towards Stavelot now. And here is Jan Magnussen coming in. And Alesi is up into second position and the fastest man on the track with slicks. 2 minutes 3.5 seconds, but 67 seconds was the gap between Michael Schumacher and Alesi. They're on lap 13, and that is Jean Alesi in second place in the Benetton. Fisichella is third. Häkkinen will be in fourth position ahead of Johnny Herbert and Coulthard. So
that's Alesi just popping two outside wheels onto a bit of damp track, a bit of overconfidence, and that shows you just how treacherous it still is. He nearly lost that car then. You've got to keep it in the dry patches that the wheels make. Otherwise, obviously, your grip halves.
Here comes Schumacher. James Allen. Yes, what a calm customer he is. Slick tyres going on. Absolutely marvellous performance both by him and his technical department. Everything looks pretty calm down here in the pit lane. I think everybody now has decided to stick with what they've got. But it's not as warm as we thought it was before. It's a set of scrub tyres, by the way. 8 seconds, so he's going to have to stop again. That's not enough fuel to go through to the end of the race. He's playing it cagey. He's got a nice big lead. He can be very careful. But for the moment, he's very much in command of this race.
Well, the big difference is, Murray, that obviously those tyres he had on at the beginning of the race could have been extremely marginal for aquaplaning, but the team knows, with the skill of Michael Schumacher, they could take the risk with him that no other team could probably take.
Yeah, and a complete stop here from entering the pit lane to leaving it takes about 30 seconds, as opposed to took Michael Schumacher 31 seconds. he was leading by 67 seconds. So now he is on lap 15 out of 44, 1/3 race distance completed, and he's going to be, I estimate, when Jean Alesi comes through, about 47 seconds still ahead of the Benetton. It's more than that, it's 60 seconds. You're watching the race leader, 30 laps to go. Jean Alesi has gone through, the quickest man on the track because he was doing the flying lap when Schumacher was coming out of the pits. And the gap then is now 60 seconds with Giancarlo Fisichella in 3rd place. Mika Häkkinen is 4th. Johnny Herbert is in 5th place. David Coulthard is in 6th place. Damon Hill, who has stopped, is in 10th position. And ahead of his teammate, Pedro Diniz.
Frentzen jetzt auf 7. Durch die nächsten Boxenstops und 1, 2 Überholmanöver, die wir leider nicht im Bild gesehen haben. Michael Schumacher führt vor Jean Alesi und Giancarlo Fisichella, den haben wir hier im Bild. Dann Mika Häkkinen, Johnny Herbert, David Coulthard und Heinz-Harald Frentzen. Und Frenzens Rückstand auf Coulthard 2,6 Sekunden. Coulthard seinerseits hängt direkt im Getriebe von Johnny Herbert und der wiederum ist ganz nah dran an Mika Häkkinen. Also das wäre eine Gruppe, die wir uns jetzt mal im Bild wünschen.
Vorne die schnellsten Runden fährt Alesi im Augenblick mit 2:01, dann Fisichella mit 2:03. Michael Schumacher hat noch keine richtig schnelle Zeit durch den Boxenstopp hier auf dem Computer. Aber man braucht ein bisschen, bis man sich eingefahren hat. Selbst wenn man gleich rausgeht auf Slicks, dann wird es, habe ich gerade gesagt, da kam gerade die schnellste Runde von Michael Schumacher durch mit einer 2:007. Also er ist schon im Full Swing. Ich wollte gerade erzählen, dass man ein bisschen braucht, aber hier in dem Pulk, da sieht es natürlich arg eng aus. Und Irvine hinten dran. Alesi jetzt wieder schnellste Runde.
Und Hill hält sich vor Villeneuve. Dahinter dann ganz hinten hängt Eddie Irvine. Dazwischen noch Jos Verstappen. Dahinter kommt Gianni Morbidelli. Frentzen jetzt mit der schnellsten Rennrunde. 1:58,708. Ist jetzt im Prinzip wieder da, wo er angefangen hat, auf Platz 7. Das ist Mika Salo da im Pulk, nicht Jos Verstappen. Und da haben wir jetzt Mika Häkkinen. Hinter ihm Johnny Herbert. Dann Coulthard.
Lap 16 in this incredible Belgian Grand Prix. And Michael Schumacher has come in, has changed tyres from intermediates in the Ferrari to slicks. He's leading Jean Alesi's Benetton by 41 seconds. Giancarlo Fisichella is in 3rd place. Mika Häkkinen is 4th. Michael Schumacher is the fastest man on the track. He's going 1.2 seconds faster than anybody else as he gets used to the slick tyres. Johnny Herbert is in 5th position. David Coulthard, that we're looking at now, has got Heinz-Harald Frentzen behind him, 6th and 7th. Gerhard Berger is in 8th position in the Benetton. 9th is Jos Verstappen. Brilliant drive in the Tyrrell with its V8 engine. The power disadvantage doesn't matter so much in these wet weather conditions, of course. And Verstappen is driving on his home track. He's a Dutchman. This is the nearest track to Holland. And now Frentzen is having a go at David Coulthard and trying to get up into the points. Heinz-Harald Frentzen, who's had such appalling luck and problems. And they're catching Johnny Herbert, who is in 5th position, into the bus stop.
Well, Michael Schumacher's making them all look second rate, isn't he, today? Completely, just called it absolutely right. Now he's still 2 seconds a lap faster than anybody else. Now he's moved on to the slick tyres, 41 seconds in the lead. David Coulthard coming under increasing pressure. The Ferrari guy's looking ecstatic there.
And Damon Hill is slipping back through the field. We heard that he had demanded intermediate tyres to be made ready for him at a time when everybody else was switching to slicks. He's paying the penalty now because he is down in Well, he's slipping down. He's in 14th position now. He'll have to come in and change again.
That's a bad call from Damon. As I said, when the track is beginning to dry like that, there's a very small window when the intermediates are the right tyre to be on, over 1 or 2 laps. It was never going to be the right decision with a drying track. Here's Damon now coming in for his slicks. He was 2 stopping in this race anyway, so he's made 1 more stop than he really needed to have made. Tom Walkinshaw's not going to be impressed if Damon did in fact demand those tyres.
Well, but that's the message we had. We'll have to wait and see. But now here is Mika Häkkinen, 4th position. Johnny Herbert behind him in 5th position. There is David Coulthard, 6th. Heinz-Harald Frentzen is in 7th place in the Williams. And now we join him at racing speed after the slow motion shot. And you can see just how incredibly quick this Belgian Grand Prix track at Spa is.
Ralphie Schumacher back in 19th place. Remember, he started from the pit lane. He's had a trip through the gravel trap. He's now fastest man on the track. He's got nothing to lose, really. He's just going for it right in the back of the field. That's a brave move. If Frentzen pulls that one off, it's a brave move. And he does. Force Coulthard onto the wet part of the track. Very, very brave move. He's obviously carrying less wing on that car than the McLaren. It is quite a skinny wing now, look at it, which may explain why both he and Villeneuve were struggling at the beginning of the race. So if it remains dry through to the end, the Williams could suddenly show us the form it showed us all the way through qualifying on a dry track.
And where is Jacques Villeneuve, the man who's 2nd in the World Championship? He's down in 10th position. The man you're looking at, his teammate Heinz-Harald Frentzen. Well, you're looking at Alesi now, but Frentzen is in 6th position. And it should have been Heinz-Harald Frentzen that won the Hungarian Grand Prix a couple of weeks ago, rather than Jacques Villeneuve, if he hadn't had that awful problem, totally unexpected, unprecedented problem with the petrol refueling organisation.
I don't understand why Frentzen is moving over it. I've seen him do it 3 or 4 times now. Why he keeps moving onto the wet patches and getting water on his tyres? They are slicked on, though, or are they intermediates?
Yeah, I mean, we always traditionally point out that when they're on treaded tyres that get hot, they find the wet parts of the track. It's very difficult, of course, when...
Is that rain? Is that rain? I think it's raining.
It is. It's pouring with rain again. Well spotted. Now we're in the situation where everybody has been in. Literally everybody has been in. Michael Schumacher is leading by 40 seconds. If we've got a heavy rain point, it's not raining in the start and finish point where we are, but you're looking there at the Williams on slick tyres of Heinz-Harald Frentzen, coming up to Johnny Herbert, who is in 5th position. You can see that the track is still dry. They look like slicks to me, Martin.
Like slicks.
They really do.
I don't understand why 2 or 3 times he's moved over onto the wet part of the track in an apparent effort to cool the tyres down. The Ferrari mechanic's still looking ecstatic as Michael Schumacher cruises off into the distance, but he now too, look at the rain now coming down again. That's going to be tricky.
Now this is going to test him out. Remember how Senna used to stay out on slicks longer than anybody else? Is Michael Schumacher going to be able to do it? Meantime, Johnny Herbert has got his mirrors full of Heinz-Harald Frentzen, who's looking for 5th position at 2 points, and he's not very far behind Mika Häkkinen, who is in 4th place. Mika Häkkinen is 3.3 seconds behind Fisichella, 3rd. Frentzen coming up to Johnny Herbert now. Is he going to try and get past the Sauber, putting out at the last choice? No, Johnny Herbert just moves over that inch or so that closes the line through behind Heinz-Harald Frentzen. They both run wide down to Eau Rouge, that daunting corner.
Well, they're at our end of the racetrack and there's no rain at all here, so it's just up at Les Combes. Often happens here, the track is so spread out that you can get rain at one end and not the other, as we've already mentioned earlier in the show. And here they come into the wet part. Look at the rooster tails going up now. That'll be a handful when he touched the brakes.
Fisichella 3rd, Häkkinen 4th, Herbert 5th, Frentzen 6th, behind Frentzen David Coulthard, and between Häkkinen, who is 4th, and Coulthard, who is 7th, there are just 3.8 seconds. And once again, on this part of the track, they're having to drive through heavy spray. Meantime, Michael Schumacher, nobody has been lapped yet. Nakano is out of the race. Rubens Barrichello is out of the race. Trulli is out of the race. I tell a lie, Damon Hill has been lapped as a result of coming in twice. But the top 18 out of the 22 who started, now on lap 20 out of 44, are all on the same lap as Michael Schumacher, with the exception of Katayama, who's just been passed. He's 18th in the Minardi. And look at Johnny Herbert right Hakkinen. This is the battle for 4th, 5th and 6th position. Hakkinen, Herbert and Frentzen. With David Coulthard storming along behind them, trying to close the gap. He's not actually doing so.
Frentzen's got tremendous speed down there towards Blanchimont and puts the same move on Herbert. Doesn't quite come off that he did on David Coulthard. And now he doesn't appear to have an advantage after that. It's just a straight line speed he's got. He doesn't seem to be able to break as late as Johnny.
Well, I must say I really would like to see Heinz Harald do well in this race. He's had so many problems, including 5 failures to finish this year.
Yeah, I'd like to say that in the last race, when he had that fuel filler problem, there's a Minardi off in the gravel trap. Don't know where exactly.
It's Marquez, it's Tasso Marquez, and he was in 17th position.
But having given Frentzen a hard time on occasions this year, I want to say that he chose the right tyres in Hungary, and he would have been the one to pick up the pieces from Damon Hill's problem at the end of the race, because he was driving a storming race, but the car let him down. But once again, he's driving well here.
Marquez spinning his wheels, he's beached it. He's got the bottom part of the car in such a way that the rear wheels are off the ground.
Less water again now up there, look. Less water. There's, no, it still hasn't done. Johnny's braking later than Frentzen, probably because of the downforce situation. He has more grip in those slower speed areas, so Frentzen's going to have to get up along, up behind him into Stavolo and then have a good run at him towards Blanchimont, where he appears to be extremely fast. But it doesn't appear to be getting any wetter and slightly drier, I would say, up there at Les Cours.
Well, that's given David Coulthard the opportunity in the silver McLaren to close up on 6th place Heinz Harald Frentzen. There is the German, and there in the background is the Scotsman, David Coulthard. And Michael Schumacher is now on his 21st lap. The next lap will be the half-distance lap as Villeneuve goes through. Villeneuve turning into Les Combes. Is he running wide? Yes, he is, just like Nigel Mansell did years ago in the Ferrari. Runs across the grass. Villeneuve not even in the points. He's not showing well in this race. He's had a very patchy year. He's only in 9th position at the moment. Remember, he came in for intermediates, decided that he couldn't cope with them, came in again, and he's on slicks.
Well, every Formula One driver knows that patch of grass intimately. The reason is you brake so late from such high speed going into Les Combes that it's very easy to outbrake yourself. And instead of turning in with an inevitable spin, you know it's smooth enough to actually... There's Frentzen. He's gone up the inside this time and still had to back out of it. Johnny brave there. Johnny kept his ground and said, not yet, you're not coming through yet. So we all know well. Frentzen's got a good clean run now out of the bus stop. But I still think Johnny will outbrake him when he gets there.
He's on the inside. Johnny Herbert's on the inside. That's where he needs to be. Frentzen has to back off, tuck in behind the Sauber, and out of the race goes David Coulthard, who was in 8th position, who's just re-signed with McLaren for at least another year, 1998. So there's now only one McLaren in the race and in the race, but
Frentzen's got him this time. Surely he's got enough speed now. Yes, he's gone through. He used his straight line speed. Now Johnny's going to have a go back up the inside, but I don't think he's going to be close enough. Frentzen will now walk away quickly up to the rear wing of Mika Hakkinen.
And his next target is Mika Hakkinen, 2.3 seconds. We saw Hakkinen himself go off at Les Combes earlier on, but as you rightly say, Martin, Heinz Harald Frentzen is pulling away. We're on lap 21. Michael Schumacher is leading Alesi by 37 seconds. Alesi just marginally faster than the Ferrari on the previous lap. When I say marginally, I mean 0.2 of a second, and that's not going to make much difference to a 37-second lead. Giancarlo Fisichella is 20 seconds down the road behind Alesi in 3rd place for Jordan. Mika Hakkinen is 4th, but he's going a fair bit quicker than Johnny Herbert, a couple of seconds faster on the previous lap. Herbert and Frentzen battling for that 5th position, which Heinz Harald Frentzen now has. Down to 6th position goes Johnny Herbert, and Gerhard Berger in 7th place in the 2nd Benetton, so both the Benettons are in the top 7, is 4 seconds behind Johnny Herbert. We're with Michael Schumacher, and just to give you how supreme idea Michael Schumacher is at this track, his first race here was in 1991. He won in 92, 94, 95 and 96. Yes, he was disqualified in 94 for a technical infringement, which in my opinion didn't affect the performance of his Benetton. But nevertheless, he has won 3 times in Belgium. And his first appearance here was only in 1991. And he's on his 22nd lap, which is exactly exactly half distance on a course which is drying out, which may well have more rain on it, so unpredictable are the circumstances here. And we watch the McLaren of Mika Häkkinen, the only one left, fourth place, going up to Les Combes, trying to catch Fisichella, the yellow car.
Well, Fisichella's not that fast on his slicks, but moving along nicely. Well, let's remember that Michael Schumacher lives about half an hour down the road, just into Germany, in Kerpen, where, or used to live, where he's just started up his new go-kart circuit there. So this is almost home territory for him.
Da oben ist es nass, hier unten haben wir wieder eine trockene Spur.
Gott sei Dank, das ist ja eine superschnelle Linkskurve. Und oben relativ, aber wie gesagt, Spa verträgt einiges. Man kann da schon mit Slicks im Regen einigermaßen gut zurechtkommen. Aus irgendeinem Grund hält der Belag mehr aus als die anderen.
Das ist ja jetzt der eigentliche Rennstreckenteil. Also das ist jetzt wirklich nur Rennstrecke und wird immer nur für dieses Rennen freigegeben. Und jetzt kommen wir ja gleich wieder, wir haben gestern im Training schon drüber gesprochen, auf die richtige Straße. Das ist natürlich auch noch ein Unterschied vom Belag her dann.
Ja, die Strecke ist gemischt, also halb offen für den Verkehr. An manchen Stellen dieser Streckenabschnitt ist normalerweise Bundesstraße hier in Belgien.
Wo die ganz normalen Lastwagen fahren, die diese geschälten Kartoffelstäbchen hier von Stadt zu Stadt fahren. Jetzt aber die Busstop-Schikane. Und da steht Ralf Schumacher. Gerade noch haben wir gesagt, es geht langsam aber sicher nach vorn für ihn, aber jetzt steht er da am Rand. Und hier kommt auch die Auflösung, warum.
Ja, da kommt er ein bisschen zu quer. Hinten drauf kann den Wagen nicht mehr abfangen. Das Dilemma mit den... Da haut er vorne die Leitplanke.
Das ist genau die Stelle, an der gestern auch Frenzen rausgegangen ist. Nur der ist halt nicht eingeschlagen. Das war doch recht heftig da. Welche Rolle spielt in dem Fall das Tika? Das ist ja nicht sein Auto.
Ja, er musste in letzter Minute da reinspringen und möglicherweise war das auch auf Fisichella abgestimmt, sodass er da mit einem Kompromiss leben musste. Einmal von der Sitzposition her, vielleicht war ihm das Lenkrad zu nah, die Pedale nicht richtig in der Fuhr, in einer ungewohnten Position im Auto, zumal dann auch die Abstimmung auf den anderen Mann abgestimmt ist und er wahrscheinlich wieder auch nicht so gut zurechtkam. Er war schon mal draußen in der Wiese, was natürlich auch damit zu tun haben konnte, dass er einfach nicht mehr so richtig auf gute Zeiten kam. Vielleicht hat er sich beim Rausrutschen über das Kiesbett vorher schon mal irgendwo was ein bisschen angebogen, dass die Aufhängung, die Spur nicht mehr so ganz stimmte oder irgend sowas. Also jetzt das endgültige Aus für ihn.
Michael Schumacher.
You're watching the Belgian Grand Prix. Michael Schumacher remains nearly 40 seconds clear, but younger brother Ralph, who we saw running round the circuit beforehand, his race has run its course. Here's Simon Taylor.
Yes, Ralph running in 15th place, lost the back end coming down the hill from Les Combes, spun to the right across the road, hit the barrier pretty hard. That's the end of his Jordan. Ralf Schumacher, therefore, out of the race. His teammate Giancarlo Fisichella still in third place. Back to Murray.
And Jordan Lacey is coming in for another stop. Slicks on, and he was 44 seconds behind Michael Schumacher. He was only 11 seconds ahead of Giancarlo Fisichella in the Jordan. Ralf Schumacher's had a terrible day because he also went off in the parade laps and had to run back and get into the spare car to start this race. He was probably absolutely worn out, but now his race is over and he rejoins the other retirees. David Coulthard is out, Marquez is out, Barrichello is out, Nakano is out. 17 drivers out of the 22 started, and here is Fisichella battling for third position against Mika Häkkinen as we join the Jordan mechanics. So Fisichella, Häkkinen in fourth position. Behind them is Heinz-Harald Frentzen in the Williams. So it's Jordan, McLaren, Williams. They're coming out of Malmedy, dropping down to the right-hander at Rivage. Now they're on towards Poole, which they take at about 175 miles an hour in the dry conditions. They won't be doing that now, but they won't be all that far off it. And Michael Schumacher is on lap 25 out of 44. And he's just inexorably increasing his lead.
The downside of Jean Alesi's early stop for slicks is he was on wets, he had to change to something. that was forced upon him, but stopping very, very early like that meant there was little or no point in refueling the car, so he's had to come in for his mid-race refueling stint. He was obviously on a one-stopper anyway, so bad news there for Alesi, because that's put him behind this pack now.
So now on lap 25, and things may just have settled down a little bit for the first time in this race. Here is the order. Lap 25, Michael Schumacher leads, Alesi second, Fisichella third. Hakkinen, that we're looking at now, is in fourth position. Into the pits comes Heinz-Harald Frentzen for his second stop, and that will drop him down. Yes, Alesi goes up into fourth position. Johnny Herbert will go through into fifth position very shortly. And Frentzen, of course, as the seconds tick by, is losing time and losing places. He was having that tremendous scrap for lap after lap. Now, out he goes. Schumacher is still out there, naturally, nearly a minute ahead of anyone else. He really has just got to keep going. And up towards Les Combes come Fisichella second, Hakkinen third. And behind Mika Hakkinen is the lapped Prost of Jarno Trulli down in 17th position. That's it. His teammate Nakano is out of the Belgian Grand Prix.
Dreadful day for Bridgestone. Nakano here, is that Trulli? I thought he dropped out of the race earlier on, but obviously it must have been Nakano at that point. Yes, Trulli has got going. Remember, he started from the pit lane way after the race actually started. But the highest Bridgestone runner, where we thought they'd be so strong in these variable conditions, was Pedro Diniz in 11th place. Quite how he slipped from his third position all the way back there, we didn't see on camera, unfortunately. But Fisichella up there in second place, driving with a cool head for a young man.
Martin, the two young lions in the Jordan team, Giancarlo Fisichella, that's Michael Schumacher leading the race, and Ralf Schumacher. And it was expected that the more phlegmatic German would come out on top against the more excitable Italian, to use the perceived national characteristics. It's proved to be just the opposite. Schumacher's gone off in race after race, time after time. Fisichella has always driven a cool, deliberate race. And he almost won in Germany, of course, if he hadn't had that puncture. Now he's in second place.
This is the McLaren of Hakkinen lapping Nakano there. Slow motion replay. I think the problem is with Ralf, he thinks, Trulli, I keep mistaking those two. The problem with Ralf is he thinks he's Michael. You only have to stand on a corner for a quarter of an hour and watch them all coming through. Ralf arrives with the same total and utter commitment to a corner, but one in every 3 or 4 times through that corner he'll make a mistake, whereas Michael will always be inch perfect. He's going to have to back off a bit and then creep back up on his speed. At the moment he's going faster, he's more determined than his capabilities, and that's why he keeps flying off the road and Fisichella keeps on.
Wake up, that man. Ferrari mechanic going to sleep with Michael Schumacher leading the race. The man who won in Monaco, the man who won in Canada, the man who won in France, the man who has taken Ferrari back to the top, with Ross Brawn, who's doing an equally good job on the technical side of the Maranello concern. And Michael Schumacher is now a comfortable 55 seconds ahead of Fisichella, whose last lap was a bit quicker than Schumacher's, but he's got such a massive lead, Schumacher, but that won't worry him in the least. We're looking at Giancarlo Fisichella now, and here is very much a star of the future, with Mika Hakkinen, who went off this morning, who had that enormous crash yesterday in the McLaren, in third place. Now, he's had an incredibly consistent season, has Mika Hakkinen, because he's had third, fourth, fifth places, but he's yet to get that elusive win, and that is Verstappen, Jos Verstappen, the Dutch driver of the Tyrrell. He crashed here very heavily in the Arrows last year and caused the safety car to come out. Here's a replay, and it's as Eddie Irvine, they were battling for 8th position, as Eddie Irvine comes out steps the back of the Tyrrell, into the tyres goes the rear of the car, and through up into 8th position goes Eddie Irvine, about 5 seconds behind Heinz-Harald Frentzen, as a crestfallen Verstappen walks away. He's had more offs than he should have had, and he wouldn't have wanted to have one here because Spa is very much his home circuit as a Dutchman.
Well, Häkkinen's now starting to apply pressure, and Fisichella responds with a new fastest lap, as you can see, 1:56.5. So just 1.9 seconds behind is Mika Häkkinen on Fisichella. That appears to be the race at the moment. Lacey doesn't have to stop again, nor does Frentzen, so they're in good shape, although right at the moment they're back in 4th and 7th. But Michael Schumacher, 54 seconds out in the lead. He'll be going along saying, where are you guys? Come and have a game with me, because I'm getting lonely up here.
Yeah, I keep on talking about Spain, and this really is a replay of Spain 1996, because Schumacher is just as much in command here as he was there. And the gap here is... and off spins...
It's a replay.
Sorry, I was wondering how on earth a second Tyrrell had gone off, because Salo is in 11th place and Irvine was in front of him. But...
well, Verstappen's quite capable of going off on 2 consecutive laps, but we know that he didn't get out of the first one, so he's out of the race now. So we watch Mika Häkkinen chasing down Giancarlo Fisichella,
who is going faster and faster, Giancarlo Fisichella. Now, their lap times of 1:56.5 and 56.6, respectively, compare with Michael Schumacher's last lap of 1:56.9. The fastest lap we've had, 1:56.5, so Fisichella, and that compares with the all-time lap record by Alain Prost at about 1:51. So, notwithstanding the fact that the track is in far from perfect conditions, they are about 5 seconds off the all-time 3.5-litre lap record of 4 times world champion Alain Prost.
New fastest lap for Häkkinen then. He's really homing in now. A 55.8. Fisichella's responding, but Häkkinen appears to have a little bit more speed. They're pulling away from a Lacey, who's now 11 seconds down. Johnny Herbert still running very well in 5th. Villeneuve, he's coming through. He's now up into the point-scoring position, but his lap times are somewhere there or thereabouts, but not quite the kind of charge I was expecting from Jack. He can't afford to let Michael Schumacher walk away with 10 points and him just receiving 1 or 2.
Lap 28, Michael Schumacher, 53 seconds ahead of Giancarlo Fisichella. Third is Mika Häkkinen, the fastest man on the course, who is catching Fisichella. Here is a Lacey in 4th position. Behind a Lacey there is Johnny Herbert. 6th is Jacques Villeneuve, who's now got the Williams in the points after having had to stop for tyres twice. Frentzen is in 7th place, so the 2 Williams are next to each other on the track, but separated by about 7 seconds. Eddie Irvine in the 2nd Ferrari is 8th, Deniz is 9th, Berger is 10th, and Damon Hill, thanks no doubt to that wrong tyre call that we heard about, is down in 14th position, 45 seconds behind Gianni Morbidelli. Very bad, a complete contrast for Damon Hill from Hungary 2 weeks ago, where he was quite rightly the hero of the day, drove an absolutely superlative race, started well in the race here, because Damon Hill was 9th on the grid, albeit 1 place behind Deniz, but now he's down in 14th place. We're on lap 29 out of 44, and Schumacher has got it made, provided he just keeps going.
Well, the world-famous ITV pit crew tell us that Michael Schumacher's mechanics are out in the pits, getting ready for a stop. You can just see them there, they come into view. So plenty of time, no panic, they can just cruise in the pits. They're asking the Williams mechanics, move your wheel guns, chaps, if you're not coming in. We're bringing Michael Schumacher in now, so Williams moving some of their equipment out of the way to give him a cleaner run into his pit garage so they can pull up square to his mechanics and not at an angle and make life more difficult for them. Sometimes if you don't stop very close to the marks, the refueler cannot reach with the fuel gun. Then you've got yourself a 20-second shuffle while they move you around. But Häkkinen there, still closing on Fisichella.
For 2nd and 3rd, and Villeneuve is now the fastest man on the track, 6th position, closing up on Johnny Herbert. Indeed, his last lap was 2.5 seconds faster than the Sauber. It's going to be a very dramatic finish to this race, and Villeneuve is desperately trying to close the World Championship points gap here at Spa between himself and championship leader Michael Schumacher, who of course is a country mile ahead of everybody else at Spa itself. And in comes Schumacher, James.
Yes, in comes Michael Schumacher, very cool and calm. Slight lock-off on the way in. But the Ferrari crew very much on top of things today. Obviously another set of slicks going on. Now I'm going to run down after this and find out who else has to stop again. I suspect Fisichella does have to stop. I'm pretty sure Alesi does not. 7.3. That should take him through to the end of the race. Let's find out what everyone else is going to do.
So Michael Schumacher just eases his way out of the pit lane, 50-mile-an-hour limit.
And we all know too well, and many people have done it, you can spin as you just knock off the speed limiter there coming out of that pit lane, especially on a damp day. It's very easy to just do a complete 360 and lose the engine, so Schumacher very cautious there.
And we're still waiting for Giancarlo Fisichella in second place to come past and complete his 29th lap.
Well, Villeneuve now finally on a charge. He's passing there. David Coulthard. Yeah, that's been there a while. Yeah. That's Coulthard's stricken car. So Villeneuve now finally on the charge. He knows he needs to get on with it. I don't know why it's taken him this long, but now he's moving because he's been absolutely awesome. Hakkinen in for his stop, another set of slicks and refuel. Should be able to go to the end of the race after this.
From third position, Alesi will go up into third position. There was only a 7-second gap between them, or at least he should do. And we're on lap 30 now. That is Tarso Marques, the Brazilian driver of the Minardi, who was out of the race a long, long time ago. In fact, he only did 10 laps. Villeneuve plunging down towards Eau Rouge behind the frost of Jarno Trulli, lapping the Italian. And bright, bright sunshine now as he streaks up to Les Combes. And Johnny Herbert has already gone through that sequence of corners. And look at the gap that's already developed.
Some more rain, Murray, some more rain going on up there, just spitting away at the top end of the circuit. Doesn't look as heavy as before, but why is it hotter in this commentary box than in the racing cars?
Well, I could give you a very exact answer, Martin, but I haven't got the time to do it. But you're absolutely right. And Jacques Villeneuve in 6th position, 1 World Championship point, 9 World Championship points in this race behind Michael Schumacher, plus the 3 that he was already behind when the race began. And the Williams mechanics are out to greet who? I don't know. It could be Villeneuve in 6th position. He's been in twice. It could be Frentzen in 7th position. He's been in twice as well.
That must be for Villeneuve. Villeneuve, remember, had to stop. He stopped for Inters, like Damon Hill, and then had to stop again for slicks. So it must be for Villeneuve.
In which case, Heinz-Harald Frentzen is going to take that 6th place. And once again, Villeneuve will be out of the points. He's really going for it on the absolutely dry roads now. Lap 31 out of 44. How time flies when you're enjoying yourself. It only seems a few minutes since this race began. Ukyo Katayama, 15th place, the man who's just climbed the Matterhorn without oxygen, the fastest time ever anybody has done it. And out of La Source goes the Williams as in comes Eddie Irvine in the Ferrari from 8th position. And Eddie Irvine's been in, this is his 2nd stop. No, it's his 3rd stop, I apologise.
Terrible weekend for Eddie. He's just not been on the pace at all. 17th on the grid, a lot of traffic, but nonetheless didn't even threaten to do a good lap time. Reasonable pit stop going on. He's in first gear, ready to go. A nice stop, but Eddie will be looking forward to midnight, and then he knows that the weekend is finished because it's been a disaster.
Now, here's an interesting fact. Gerhard Berger, who we haven't heard much about in this race, is the quickest man on the track in the Benetton. The winner of the German Grand Prix at Hockenheim. He's just gone round in 1 minute 54.9. He's only 3 seconds, he was only 3 seconds behind Irvine, who's just come in. So that means to say that Berger will be up into 9th position, getting very close to Pedro Diniz, who is in 8th place. Great race by this much maligned Brazilian driver, who's really showing that he's a lot better than we had thought he was. I've said that many times before, and I don't mind saying it again because it's very much a fact. And lap 32, Michael Schumacher is 28 seconds ahead of Fisichella. There are 12 laps to go.
So we believe Villeneuve and Fisichella due in probably on this lap. There's Villeneuve mechanics now. That fuel hose takes 2 men to lift it, as it weighs an enormous amount. Fisichella in 2.
From 2nd place, and he was 12 seconds ahead of Jean Alesi. So while you watch the screen, I'm going to watch the road and see Jean Alesi going through and moving up into 2nd place. Out goes Fisichella. I haven't seen Alesi yet, so it's very, very close.
Johnny Herbert's in the pits.
Johnny Herbert into the pits.
Villeneuve, I believe, in the distance behind him. There's Villeneuve in his stop. Important stop for him. He needs some points today, and I don't see him getting any at the moment because Frentzen, Hakkinen and co are all in better shape than him, and you can see Johnny Herbert's away in front of him too. So all to play for now for Villeneuve. I really expected him to run away with this race today. Conditions have changed all of that, and suddenly it's flip-flopped back into the hands of this man, Michael Schumacher, with regard to the World Championship. He had an appalling weekend in Hungary. He made a mistake on his tyres, then he made a mistake in the warm-up and damaged his main race car. He had an awful race, salvaged 4th place, looked pretty second-rate himself, and now here today he's been nothing less than brilliant.
Die Zeitlupenaufnahmen, die einfach zu groß aufgezogen sind. Das war sehr sponsorfreundlich, aber man sieht leider zu wenig an der Aufhängung, an der Bewegung des Autos. Schade ein bisschen, da müsste die Kamera ein bisschen größer bleiben, dass man da mehr sieht. Villeneuve, Schumacher, die Geschwindigkeiten hier 283,6, 277,3, also deutlicher Geschwindigkeitsunterschied. Und jetzt nur 264,3.
Und auf den Tribünen dominiert Rot. Ein österreichischer Reporter kam gestern zu mir ganz kurz und sagte, ich dachte, Hockenheim war schon. Also für ihn sah das hier aus wie auf dem Hockenheimring. So viele Schumacher-Fans. Nächster Boxenstopp, Jean Lézy. Für ihn bereits der 3. Johnny Herbert war 6 Sekunden zurück, Villeneuve 4 Sekunden. Also sie müssten jetzt wieder vorbeigehen an Jean Lézy. Also ganz klar muss man sagen, Jochen, die mit den Regenreifen gestartet sind und dann in relativ früher Phase zwischen der 6. und 10. Runde schon einen Stopp machen mussten, um umzurüsten auf Intermediates, die sind allesamt salopp ausgedrückt erstmal gekniffen. Denn die haben alle diesen zusätzlichen Stopp, den zum Beispiel Schumacher und Fisichella, die jetzt führen und die einen dicken Vorsprung haben, nicht brauchten.
So unverständlich wie die Entscheidung in Monaco gewesen war, damals eben auf Trockenreifen zu starten bei den Williams und diesmal auf diesen Schwerwetterreifen zu starten, das war genauso unverständlich. Also ich kriege es manchmal wirklich nicht so ganz, ich verstehe es nicht so ganz, wie man zu solchen Entscheidungen kommt. Also es war ja eigentlich relativ deutlich, dass man auch mit etwas weniger profilierten Reifen da ganz gut zurechtkommt. Aber na gut, für uns ist das eben mit dem Erfolg von Schumacher ganz klar ersichtlich. Ja, aber irgendwo, ich meine, wenn ich mich so dran erinnere...
With one of the Ferrari crew members nodding off from the sheer boredom of it. Jean Todt, his team manager, isn't? That's him. You're watching Michael Schumacher on this demonstration drive of his at Spa, leading Giancarlo Fisichella by 45 seconds. Jean Lézy has been in for another pit stop in the Benetton. That's his 3rd in all. Mika Hakkinen is 4th. Heinz-Harald Frentzen is 5th. That is Rubens Barrichello. Magnussen doing a bit of motor crossing in the Stewart. He's in 13th place, hitting the curbs at the bus stop. Mika Hakkinen is 4th, Heinz-Harald Frentzen is 5th. Johnny Herbert is in 6th position, ahead, and Diniz is 7th. Way ahead of Damon Hill, who is in 14th place, and a lap adrift. He's still running, but he's right down. He's made 2 pit stops, and I wouldn't be at all surprised if he has to make another one. But anyway, Schumacher is on his way.
Interestingly, Michael Schumacher is now also, there's Diniz coming in for what must be his final stop from 9th place. He's not going to score points today like it looked for a while, but Michael Schumacher choosing to cool his slicks down. So maybe those Goodyears, well, they've had 1 or 2 blisters over the weekend. Not as much as the soft Bridgestones, but Schumacher feeling he needs to cool his slicks anyway to avoid any of those problems. Let me tell you a story about Schumacher here in '92. I was driving the Benetton, and with him, I passed him for 3rd place. He followed me for half a lap, looked at my rear tyres, decided to call in for a pit stop. We were just behind Mansell and Patrese in the 2 Williams. He saw my tyres, called in, took a set of slicks and won the race. and that's the capacity that guy's got while he's controlling these cars, and that's why he's won so many Spa races and 2 World Championships. And here we have Lacey under pressure there, and Berger under pressure from Villeneuve.
Yep, battling for 7th position. There's Lacey, there is Berger. Now there is almost, you can see the gap between them. Lacey, Berger, Villeneuve. Lacey 6th, Berger 7th, Villeneuve in 8th position. And Villeneuve's got to get past these 2 doughty campaigners in a car which has got the engine exactly the same as his. That's the team, Benetton team, waiting to bring somebody in and bring Gerhard Berger in. And Jacques Villeneuve in 8th position won't even be in the points until he gets past both Gerhard Berger immediately ahead of him and Jean Lacey. And Berger's going into the pits. So up into 7th place goes Jacques Villeneuve. Now if he can get past the Lacey, he's in the points.
I'm very confused as to why Benetton haven't been putting fuel in these cars when they've been changing tyres. I'll have to go back after the race and try and understand that, but I'm absolutely amazed that Lacey had to come in again, because it appears to be putting him out of a podium position, and I'd have thought they had ample opportunity to get some gas in that car.
Well, just 5.8 seconds, and Lacey is out again. But Berger is out again, my apologies. And coming up to Les Combes, here is Jean Lacey. 6th position, Jacques Villeneuve. Lacey over the crest at Eau Rouge, and Villeneuve getting the Williams out of shape, trying very hard indeed. Now the gap between Jacques Villeneuve, just out of the points in 7th place, and Michael Schumacher, who's on lap 35 out of 44 and leading, of course, is a massive 65 seconds. Schumacher is giving Villeneuve a driving and tactics lesson here at Spa, and it looks, as I said, as though it's going to be Schumacher's 5th victory here in Belgium. And Damon Hill has come into the pits just in front of me, down from 14th position. Sure enough, there he is. This is his 3rd stop of the race, and the battle between the Benetton and the Williams of Lacey and Villeneuve continues to rage down on the track. That's 36 out of Stabilo. And they're coming up to catch Ukyo Katayama, the Japanese driver, who is in 16th position in the Minardi.
Well, we've been down to the Benetton pit, and they say they have put fuel in at every stop, and the last one was a scheduled stop, so I'm wrong on that.
So down to complete that. Is Villeneuve going to have a go at Lacey? Indeed he is. He dives up the inside, but Lacey's got the line. This is where you can either go very, very wide, as they both have, or take a tighter line. There isn't very much in it. That's Craig Pollock, who is Villeneuve's manager and ex-ski teacher, and the man who's rumoured to be building a team with Reynard for Villeneuve to drive for. And Villeneuve now is really going to have a go at Lacey as they come up to Les Combes. Lacey protects his position, but if Villeneuve can just get a bit closer, no, I don't think he's going to get through. Yes, he does so. Great passing move by Jacques Villeneuve up into 6th position and into the points.
Again, a bit submissive there from Lacey. There's no doubt about it that Villeneuve had the faster car. Lacey knew it, but I thought he would put on a bit harder fight than that. So Villeneuve now on his way. He's just crept into the points. Could be a rather critical point by the end of the year. He's now got a set about Johnny Herbert. Johnny's been going extremely well, while Villeneuve there putting a good move on Lacey while they've been having that scrap, and Johnny's pulled away by 5.5 seconds, so Villeneuve has to set about him now for another valuable World Championship point.
Yeah, I mean, Herbert was faster than Villeneuve on the previous lap, but obviously Villeneuve was being held up by Jean Lacey. Now he's got a clear track. Now he can stretch his Williams legs and really go for it. And he's in 6th position on 1 World Championship point. That man, Michael Schumacher, is in the lead on 10 World Championship points, and he's on his 37th lap. What an amazing year he has had, because he's only failed to finish in 2 races, Michael Schumacher, this year, and this is the 12th race out of the 17 we're going to have this year.
And there he is again, cooling his slicks down. He obviously feels there's a little bit of give up, or it's just an extra security thing. Here comes Frentzen into the chicane now. He's going to take plenty of curb. Not a major problem. He wants to be sure he doesn't take his front wing off like Mika Häkkinen did exactly there this morning. He's putting on a spurt. That's the fastest lap of the race you saw Frentzen doing there. And he's making a charge for Häkkinen. He's 4.5 seconds behind. And Häkkinen's making yet another charge at Fisichella, who's in second place and driving well.
Well, while we're watching Frentzen in fourth place, let's not lose sight of the fact that young Giancarlo Fisichella, the man who so very nearly won in Germany and we now look at, is in second place, and seemingly a very comfortable second place. He's coming up to lap Damon Hill, who is in 14th place, and he's 6 seconds ahead of Mika Häkkinen in the McLaren. Heinz-Harald Frentzen is fourth, Johnny Herbert is fifth, Villeneuve is in sixth position, Gerhard Berger, who is in ninth position, is again the fastest man on the track. The first lap in under 1 minute 54 seconds, and Louise Goodman is with David Coulthard in the pits.
Okay. David, you were in with a shout for some points there. What happened?
Got a wheel up on the curb in the fast corner that brings you down towards Blanchimont and just spun the car off there.
Tyre choice is proving critical in the race. Who makes the decision about what tyres to change to and when to change?
Well, the call, obviously I'm out the track, I know what's happening, and I just need to talk to the team and they'll inform me of what's happening as well. But the decision was made to come in. We're probably a lap later than we should have, but it was a call from me and then confirmed by the pit wall.
Lap 38, no change at the front as far as Michael Schumacher is concerned, or as far as that young man, Giancarlo Fisichella, the extremely amiable and extremely capable multiple ex-kart champion, German Formula 3 champion, the man who won the Monaco Grand Prix for Formula 3 cars, and he's up behind Damon Hill to lap it.
Eddie Jordan says Fisichella is in a Jordan next year. Contrary to what everybody believes and what the press is saying, Fisichella is not going to Benetton. We have two drivers next year, Ralf Schumacher and Giancarlo Fisichella, so a little bit of a bun fight creeping up there, Murray.
Yeah, and what about the rumours that Damon Hill is going to be in a Jordan next year? Or is it a Prost, or is it a Benetton, or could it be an Arrows? It's still very, very open. The only thing we're absolutely sure about is that it isn't a McLaren, and it certainly isn't going to be a Ferrari, because all their 4 places are occupied.
Michael Schumacher. Vorsprung von Michael Schumacher auf Fisichella nach gefahrenen 38 Runden, etwas mehr als 35 Sekunden. Und bei Benetton bereitet man noch einmal einen Boxenstopp vor. Alesi war schon 3-mal drin. Gleich kommt Gerhard Berger, der gerade eben die schnellste Rennrunde gefahren hat, nochmal rein. 1:53,967 die Zeit von Gerhard Berger. Und da haben wir Heinz-Harald Frentzen. Er kommt nicht viel näher ran an Mika Häkkinen. Die Zeiten immer so plus minus 1-2 Zehntel. Gerade hatte Frentzen mal wieder die Nase ein bisschen vorn, dann war Häkkinen wieder ein bisschen schneller. Jetzt in der letzten Runde wieder Frentzen. Reicht es für Heinz-Harald vielleicht doch noch, Mika Häkkinen zu kriegen und noch aufs Treppchen zu klettern?
In der letzten Runde war er deutlich schneller. Er war also gleich 1,4 Sekunden schneller und das gibt ihm natürlich schon ein bisschen Oberwasser. Jetzt ist er dann schon fast in Riechnähe von dem McLaren Mercedes.
Wir haben ja vorhin darüber geredet, für Frentzen ein Erfolgserlebnis dringend notwendig, für ihn, für das Team, aber vor allen Dingen für sein Selbstvertrauen. Wenn man überlegt, er stand auf Startplatz 7 und ist jetzt immerhin Vierter, und Villeneuve stand auf Startplatz 1 und ist Sechster. Auch wenn er jetzt die schnellste Runde gefahren hat, das ist nicht das Rennen des Jacques Villeneuve und es ist vor allen Dingen nicht das Rennen der Williams-Strategen. Also die Entscheidung, mit den Regenreifen zu starten.
Es war sehr markant. Also ich muss schon sagen, also das mit Schwerwetterreifen anzugehen, dann umzuberüsten auf Intermediates und dann nochmal auf Slicks, das tat weh. Aber so ist es manchmal.
Der Williams-Wetterfrosch kriegt definitiv das falsche Futter oder er kommt die Leiter nicht richtig hoch. Eins von beiden nach Monte Carlo, jetzt also zum zweiten Mal. 2 Nieten im Wetterpoker der Williams-Strategen. Aber nichtsdestotrotz, vielleicht rettet Heinz-Harald Frentzen ja doch noch ein bisschen was und fährt noch aufs Treppchen. Es wäre zum Leidwesen vom McLaren Mercedes und von Mika Häkkinen. Aber die Frentzen-Fans und die Williams-Fans würde es freuen und uns auch, denn wir wollen eine spannende Schlussphase Ihnen präsentieren. Und die können am ehesten Frentzen und Villeneuve.
So this is the fight then for third and fourth place. Frentzen is catching Häkkinen very nicely by over a second on the last lap now, just a couple of seconds behind. There you can see Häkkinen going into the bus stop. We switch to Michael Schumacher. He's currently leading by 33 seconds. He's backed off quite a lot, and he's apparently cruising to the end of the race, keeping his car in good shape, and he's got enough time in his pocket, you may think. But remember, it's exactly the same amount ahead that Damon Hill was in Hungary, Murray.
Absolutely, and we know what happened there for the sake of one very expensive washer. And again, Schumacher deliberately moves off line to go into a wet patch to cool down his slick tyres. Now, he's got the feel of the car, and he will know the tyre grip characteristics. He's obviously finding it necessary or desirable to do that. But his lead is a massive one. 33 seconds, lap 40, 4 laps to go after this one, each of which are 4.3 miles. And Louise Goodman has got Ralf Schumacher with him. What happened?
Ralf, an incident-filled race for you. What happened on the formation lap?
Well, on the formation lap, the rain was a lot stronger than I expected, and then I came into high water with slick tire, which ended up in a lot of aquaplaning. And well, at the end, then I was in tire war. I made it back to the pits, but well, then I had to go with the G car, which didn't obviously work with rain tire because we had dry setting. And then after I swapped over to slick tire, it went quite well, but I was too far behind, and I tried everything, and I spun at it.
We saw you had a couple of other excursions off in the middle of the race. Was there a problem with the handling of the car? Was that because you were in the T car?
Just was not enough grip to go as quick as I wanted in the rain. That was the reason.
Back again with the Williams of Heinz-Harald Frentzen chasing Mika Häkkinen for third position. Frentzen aiming to get onto the podium. Just 1.5 seconds between them, and he's lapping over half a second faster than the McLaren. And Michael Schumacher is on his 41st lap now. 3 laps to go at the end of this one as he drops down to the rivage, turns into the left-hander before Pour, and it was here last year that in one of the practice sessions, he's just at this point now. He spun off very heavily indeed his first year with Ferrari. He certainly hasn't made that mistake this year. He's only got 3 laps to go at the end of this one, and I'm jolly sure he won't be making it now. On his victorious way, over half a minute ahead of Fisichella, with Häkkinen third, being caught by Frentzen, ahead of Herbert fifth, and Villeneuve sixth, who is catching him, but not fast enough.
Okay, well, Häkkinen faster than Frentzen on that lap, so he's responding. If you're wondering where Alesi's gone, he's made yet another stop for a new set of tyres. He felt his rear tyres were going away, but with such a little time left towards the end of the race, there was no point in him coming in, I felt, because he's now back in 10th place. At least he did have an outside chance of a point by just sticking with those tyres, but he obviously elected to come in. You can see Michael Schumacher occasionally going onto the wet patch. Frentzen's doing the same. Clearly the tyres are on the limit, but looking at Schumacher's tyres and even looking at Frentzen's tyres, you can't see any particular signs that they're badly blistered or angry at all. Maybe it's just a precautionary thing. They can obviously feel the car sliding around underneath them, and something we can't see. You're so tuned into those cars, you're strapped in so tightly, you are part of the car, and clearly he can feel something that we're unable to see on our TV pictures as he streams towards Longchamp.
Well, one Ferrari in the top 6, one Jordan in the top 6, one McLaren in the top 6, one Sauber in the top 6, but 2 Williams. It's a long time since Williams that we got so used over the years to finishing first and second in a race, have had both cars finish in the top 6 places, the top 6 points scoring places. And this is Giancarlo Fisichella down through Eau Rouge at about 170 miles an hour, climbing now up to Kemmel. They continue the climb, or he continues the climb at 190 miles an hour up to the right-left at Les Combes, which leads into the right at Malmedy. Michael Schumacher is on his 42nd lap. Jacques Villeneuve has just become the first driver to circulate this Spa circuit in under 1 minute 53 seconds. He's put up the fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 52.96, but he's still 4.5 seconds behind Johnny Herbert with just 2 laps to go at the end of this one. It's looking increasingly as though Giancarlo Fisichella there is going to finish in the highest position he has ever been in a Grand Prix. He finished in 3rd place in Canada, but it looks as though he's going to finish 2nd here at Spa. Now, look down at the Williams. You see how the left-hand side of the track, the Williams you're looking at is Jacques Villeneuve, the quickest man on the track. He's on 1 World Championship points now, 9 points behind Michael Schumacher in this race, plus 3 more, making the gap 12 if they both stay where they are at the end of this race. And it looks as though they're going to 2 laps to go at the end of this one. Only cruel reliability problems like Damon Hill had in Hungary are going to take a victory away from Michael Schumacher.
Well, he's making a big charge on Johnny Herbert, who's done another fantastic job in the Sauber Ferrari up there in 5th place. And I don't think he's got enough time. He's 4.2 seconds behind. He's giving it everything. Look, across the curbs, all to play for. Now that's a McLaren of Hakkinen. That's that's Frentzen now. We switched to Frentzen. Frentzen homing in on Hakkinen for 3rd and 4th place, down to 1.4 seconds. Took another 3/10 off him on the last lap. Catching him is one thing, but passing him is another. But he's definitely moving in, as you can see. He's streaming through Eau Rouge. There's a lot of yellow line through the middle of the track. We'll look next time, and that's where the wooden plank underneath the car, the locality plank underneath the car, hits the ground and leaves a trail of wood all the way up the hill.
Lap 43, no battle for the lead, Michael Schumacher, no battle for 2nd place, Fisichella. But what a battle for 3rd position between Hakkinen and Frentzen. What a battle for 5th position, and here it is, Johnny Herbert, and in 6th position, Jacques Villeneuve. Gerhard Berger is 7th, Irvine is 8th, Denise is 9th. In 10th position is Jean Alesi after those 4 stops of his. 11th is Morbidelli, and then it's Salo, Magnussen, Hill, Katayama and Trulli. 16 left out of the 22 who started, as Jacques Villeneuve continues to press Herbert for 5th position.
Villeneuve's going to be up behind Herbert on the last lap. He's going to be right with him. He's taking about 1.5, 1.6 seconds per lap. It was 2.6 at the beginning of this lap, 2 laps to go, including this one. So he's going to be right with him. Am I right on my calculations there, Murray?
I remember what Villeneuve did in France at Magny-Cours, coming up behind Eddie Irvine as they approached the last corner, and he literally hurled the Williams past the Ferrari, or tried to, only to spin into the pit lane and lose the place. Nothing deters Jacques Villeneuve when he's on a charge, and look at that. Michael Schumacher has lapped Mika Salo behind him in the Tyrrell, who is in 12th place. And this is Michael Schumacher's last lap of the Belgian Grand Prix. He's on his victorious way to make a 4th victory. Into the pits comes Damon Hill, and what is suspiciously looking like a retirement from the car and body language. The Ferrari mechanics are on the pit lane. This is going to be an historic 5th win in Belgium for Schumacher, including the one that he was disqualified from, I hasten to say. This is where he made his Grand Prix debut in 1991 with the Jordan team, only to be snatched away for the next race by Benetton, with whom he became world champion twice and won 19 Grand Prix for the Enstone team. And now, after giving himself the challenge of bringing Ferrari back to the top of Grand Prix racing, he's undoubtedly doing it. The gap between himself and Jacques Villeneuve is going to be therefore some 13 points in the World Championship, as Schumacher comes up to the bus stop for the 44th and last time. This has been a victory of such dominance that Michael Schumacher has underlined yet again why he's the great world champion he is, and off spins Irvine as Michael Schumacher wins the Belgian Grand Prix.
Well, a tale of 2 fortunes there. Looks like Diniz and Irvine got together. Schumacher will pull straight into the Parc Fermé. No closing lap here. And we wait now for Fisichella. Here he is coming through the bus stop. Superb drive from him on a day when you had to keep your head. You need an old head on young shoulders, and he apparently has it. Hakkinen, I believe, will also keep off Frentzen and Johnny Herbert. Yes, there you go, Hakkinen. Now, where's Herbert? There's Villeneuve. I think Herbert will be going through to take Fifth place, a strong drive from Johnny, and just 1 point for Villeneuve. Not a good day for him.
So Michael Schumacher wins to extend that World Championship. He richly deserves this year's World Championship. I said I thought Villeneuve was going to get it, but Schumacher is most definitely in the process of proving me very wrong indeed. Giancarlo Fisichella finishes in the highest position that he's ever been in a Grand Prix, second for Jordan. Mika Häkkinen takes yet another third place because he's already had 2 this year. Heinz-Harald Frentzen does finish ahead of Jacques Villeneuve in 4th position. Johnny Herbert, a great 5th place. There's a replay of Michael Schumacher winning the Belgian Grand Prix, and that 1 World Championship point is all that Jacques Villeneuve gets after 3 stops to Michael Schumacher's 2. Schumacher and Ferrari, as I said earlier on, got the Belgian Grand Prix right before it even began.
Now here's the incident. De Nitz on the last lap giving Irvine a run for his money. They've gone in side by side, touched, heavily touched actually. De Nitz is not going to make the end of the lap. His front suspension has failed so badly. Well, Irvine, I don't know if he can recover from that either. Don't think so. Irvine walking back, so he's not going to be happy. Remember, Trulli ran him off the road Nakano ran him off the road in Hungary, the last Grand Prix, on the last lap.
Michael Schumacher leads the World Championship from Jacques Villeneuve by 12 points. They're the only 2 in it as Villeneuve walks in. Alesi and Frentzen are tying for 3rd position now, so Heinz-Harald Frentzen has improved his placing from 5th to 3rd. They're both on 22 points. Gerhard Berger has moved down from 4th to 5th position, and tying on 6th, a long, long, long way behind, Eddie Irvine and Mika Häkkinen. So as far as team drivers are concerned, as you watch Mika Häkkinen 3rd, and in the background Michael Schumacher, and as I've said before, you always know when Michael Schumacher has won by that wonderful smile on his face, especially when he gets on the podium. He's patently happy about it, and it doesn't always look that way.
He's getting old, Murray. There's 2 beads of sweat on him. I haven't seen that before, but a peerless drive there by Michael. And maybe that's the young pretender to his crown walking up the steps behind him, because that was a very mature performance. Schumi does enjoy himself on the podium, and I don't blame him. There's too many bad days. You've got to really enjoy the good days, and he enjoys it more than anybody else.
He's quite incredible. This was his 96th Grand Prix, and he's won 26 of them. So he's been on the podium now 51 times, and that's more than 50% of the races. The German national anthem. The Italian national anthem for Ferrari, who have now extended their Constructors' Championship lead over Williams to 8 points. Well, it's not the Italian national anthem for Ferrari. Yes. a few francs investment in a new sound system wouldn't do any harm at Spa. The cacophony of air klaxons came from the thousands and thousands of delighted, euphoric Germans who are here. And that's Mr. Robert Collignon, who is the president of the Wallonie region of Belgium, presenting the winner's trophy, yet another winner's trophy to Michael Schumacher. And that was Michael Schumacher's 26th Grand Prix win.
The Williams had the fastest cars on the racetrack in the dry, and there's not one Williams driver on the podium, so Frank was not going to be unduly happy about that. They'll have to investigate their tyre decision again. For starters, Hakkinen holds up his trophy, looking a touch second hand. They had a fairly big shunt yesterday.
John Todt and Michael Schumacher embrace. That's the man, the two men who've put Ferrari on top. It's a great pity that Ross Brawn isn't there as well, because he's made a massive contribution this season. And we should never forget John Barnard, who's now with Arrows, who also did a monumental amount to get Ferrari back into the winning position that they're in now. And there is Todt taking the Constructors' Trophy and offering it to Michael Schumacher. You won it, Michael, he says. No, you did just as much as I did. I'm quite sure Michael Schumacher said. Replay crosses the line, having lapped Vicar Salo.
And the next race is Monza, Murray, where the Ferrari fans will be extra crazy.
Yes, and if Ferrari win at Monza, it really is an incredible happening, and anybody that can be there should get there. A most emotional, euphoric occasion. I've seen it a few times, and I've seen that memorable one when Ferrari finished first and second immediately after the death of the great Enzo Ferrari himself. But here in Belgium, it has been Ferrari all the way, thanks to Michael Schumacher, the only one to finish. Only one Jordan finishes. There you see experience and youth together. Fisichella on the right, second position. Mika Hakkinen on the left, third position. Ferrari win, Jordan second, McLaren another third place. Still haven't got the win that they wanted, apart from the one that David Coulthard had in Australia. Fourth place, a meagre fourth place as far as Williams are concerned behind Harold Frentzen. Fifth for Sauber, sixth for Williams in the form of Jacques Villeneuve. Only one constructor got both cars home in the top six, as Martin had pointed out, but finishing in fourth and sixth places is no way to finish a Grand Prix for Frank Williams and Patrick Head. So now Schumacher into the interview room as we look again at some of the moments that made this Belgian Grand Prix, which for the first time started behind the safety car because of the wet conditions.
This was the move of the race, really. Schumacher had to make that. Remember, after that moment, he went off into a huge lead, so he needed to get past Alesi quickly, and he took a calculated gamble. This was less of a risk. Nicely done there. Villeneuve locking the rear brakes a little bit, running wide. Schury calm and collected, went up the inside. And here he is, going over the finish line, and the traditional Schumacher punch into the air as he celebrates yet another victory here at Spa. And the rail totally dominant him, and if he wins the World Championship, he will look back on this race as one of the key factors to that, I believe.
And if he does win the World Championship, he will richly deserve it. I said before today that he has lifted Ferrari in a way that no one else was able to do. He was the last brick they needed in the wall against the opposition, and he's filled that space absolutely superbly. And now, as in line with tradition, the magnificent Spa course is invaded by spectators. There are thousands and thousands of them camping around the circuit. They've come from miles and miles because it's close to Holland, it's close to Germany, so you get a wonderful international blend of spectators here, and they've seen a great race dominated by a truly great driver. Michael Schumacher wins yet again in Belgium, and we'll look back on this probably in years to come as one of the great races. There is Jackie Stewart, and his man Magnussen finished in 13th place. Rubens Barrichello retired very early on in the race.
Yes, apparently Barrichello had a coming together with Frentzen. We saw the Barrichello car in the pits. No apparent damage, but that was a coming together with Heinz-Harald Frentzen.
16 of the 22 started. Verstappen retired, as did Ralf Schumacher, David Coulthard, Tasso Marquez, Rubens Barrichello and Shinji Nakano.
Napoleon, Jean Todt there. He's going to be happy. There's going to be some positive, good press in Italy tomorrow morning, and they all breathe a sigh of relief. They really do have a lot of pressure back at home.
£25 million a year Michael Schumacher is allegedly paid. He hasn't actually checked his pay conditions with me, but that's the general belief. Plus a lot more from endorsements from just about everything from watches and clothes to confectionery. Schumacher is the man that they all follow, and you can see why. He's peerless in today's driving, and in my opinion there is nobody to touch him.
He still wouldn't buy you a beer, unfortunately, but while we're watching these pictures, they're making their way through the various corridors and doors up into the press room before we'll see the world feed.
That's Nigel Stepney in the middle. Sorry to interrupt you, Martin. Nigel Stepney in the middle, the English chief mechanic of the Ferrari team, who lives out in Maranello now, has learned the language. He's an ex-Lotus man.
Well, Michael, well done on your fourth victory here at Spa. You must be very pleased with today's performance.
Oh yeah, that's... I was standing on the podium and I was just empty of my mind, just celebrating this moment, because obviously as practice went, as whole sessions had gone, I wasn't too satisfied and I wasn't too optimistic for the race. And in a straightforward circumstance like dry, I think we would have struggled really. But obviously with this weather and then making the right choice for the tyres, everything went so perfect that I'm really, really delighted, both for the team and obviously for me, for the sponsors. It's a great combination we have in our team.
What was it like at the start of the race under those wet conditions?
Fairly difficult, I have to say, and I think it was quite right to have the pace car, because most of the cars were on those kind of intermediate tyres, and there were some quite big puddle of waters which after 2 laps disappeared. So for that reason I'd say that the safety car had a right to be out, and it was a good decision. After that the race was clear, straightforward, and then I obviously was able to pull out the gap at the first in.
At one point you overtook Alesi and Villeneuve in 1 lap, and then you built your lead up to well over a minute. Is there any explanation for that achievement?
I'd say we took the right decision both for setup and for tyres, and obviously I'm obviously well into the circuit when it has difficult circumstance. That suits myself quite well, and everything worked together.
Michael, well done. Giancarlo, your best podium finish yet. You must be absolutely delighted with today's performance.
I don't believe this. I'm very happy. Second podium, yeah.
Your best result, though?
Yeah. It's incredible. Michael was very quick, also Mika in the middle of the race. But the team make a very good job. So now my target is the victory. But I know this is very difficult.
How difficult was it for you to overtake Jean Alesi at the beginning of the race when it was very wet?
Yes, it was very wet, and especially outside of the line. I drove very careful in the beginning, but I overtaking Alesi and the Villeneuve. So this is very important, very nice day. Thank you very much for everybody, my team, Jordan.
Giancarlo, well done. Mika, you've got a good record here at Spa. You drove a very good race yourself today.
Yeah, thank you. It was end of the day a good race, considering all things what has happened this weekend. So the final result was very satisfactory.
How much of a battle did you have with Heinz-Harald Frentzen?
I did have actually a battle, and the reason for that was I had some slight technical problem with the car, and I was losing time every lap, and I was not able to push as fast as I was able to do, but it was this problem.
Towards the end, did you think that you could catch Giancarlo, or were you more worried about holding Heinz-Harald off?
I was honestly more worried about holding Fisichella because, Heinz, because just because I had this problem with the car, so it was just a matter of finishing the race with the position what I had at that moment.
What were the conditions at the start like for you? Were they very difficult?
Indeed, indeed. I mean, it was dreadful once, as like Michael said, the battles and like what you call little rivers over the circuit was absolutely disaster. And luckily the race car stayed out there a couple of laps, didn't start the race straight away, because otherwise it's going to be a major disaster. So extremely difficult, and but well, we managed to get through.